You think you're trying to become someone new, a better version of yourself, a more confident version, a more successful version, a more loved, secure, abundant version. You think you're building that person, becoming that person, working toward that person. But what if that's not actually what's happening? What if you are not becoming someone new, but simply remembering who you are capable of being? Because if you look closely at your life, something very interesting appears. You don't really become different people. You move between states. Sometimes you feel confident. Sometimes you feel insecure. Sometimes you feel powerful. Sometimes you feel small. Different versions of you already exist. The question is not, how do I become someone new? The real question is, why do I keep returning to the same version of myself? Because that is what most people experience. They feel motivated. They decide to change. They visualize a new life. They shift their mindset. And for a few days, or maybe a few weeks, they feel different. They feel like they are becoming someone new. And then suddenly, they go back to old habits, back to old reactions, back to old emotions, back to the same identity. And this creates frustration, because it feels like failure. It feels like, I was doing so well. What happened? But what if nothing went wrong? What if what you're experiencing is actually a predictable biological process? Because neuroscience gives us a very clear answer to this. Your brain is not designed to create a new identity instantly. It is designed to repeat familiar patterns. There is a principle in neuroscience often summarized like this: neurons that fire together, wire together. This is called Hebbian learning. And it simply means, the more you repeat a thought, a behavior, or an emotional state, the stronger the neural pathway becomes. Over time, that pathway becomes automatic. And when something becomes automatic, it becomes your identity. So, identity is not something fixed. It is something repeatedly activated. And here's the key insight. You don't go back because you failed. You go back because your nervous system is returning to what feels familiar. Your body has a set point, default state, a baseline of emotions, reactions, and expectations. And this baseline has been conditioned over years by your environment, by your experiences, by your past, by what you observed, by what you were told, by what you felt repeatedly. So when you try to step into a completely new identity, your nervous system experiences it as unfamiliar. And unfamiliar feels unsafe, even if that new identity is better, even if it's more aligned, even if it's exactly what you want. Your body still reacts, because the subconscious mind is not trying to make you happy. It's trying to keep you safe. And safety, for the nervous system, is not about what is good for you. It is about what is known. So when you step into a new state, confidence, calm, abundance, self-worth, your nervous system may allow it temporarily. But then it pulls you back to the familiar, back to the known, back to the identity it has practiced the most. This is why change feels temporary, because your system has not yet accepted the new state as normal. And this is where many people misunderstand manifestation. They think manifestation is about creating something new. But in reality, it is about stabilizing a new state. Because your life does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you consistently are. And what you consistently are is determined by what your body repeatedly feels. This is where the connection becomes deeper. Because in your previous understanding, we explored how the body is the subconscious mind. And now you begin to see how identity is not just mental. It is embodied. Your posture reflects your identity. Your breathing reflects your identity. Your emotional baseline reflects your identity. Your reactions reflect your identity. And if your body is still operating from the past, then your identity is still the past, no matter how much you visualize the future. This is why people feel stuck, because they're trying to think themselves into a new life, while their body is still memorizing the old one. And here is where something even more interesting appears. Because if identity is simply repeated activation, then that means something very powerful. You don't need to become someone new. You need to stop reinforcing the old version and start stabilizing a different one. This is where the idea becomes almost quantum in nature. In quantum physics, a system can exist in multiple potential states. But what we observe is one realized state. Not because the others don't exist, but because one becomes dominant. Now, without taking this literally in a physical sense, we can use this as a powerful analogy. You exist in multiple potential identities, but the one you repeatedly activate becomes reality. So your life is not fixed. It is selected. And selection happens through repetition, through state, through consistency. This is why you don't need to force change. You need to stabilize a new pattern. And this is also why people experience something very strange during transformation. There is a phase where you feel like two different people at the same time. Part of you is moving forward. Part of you is being pulled back. Part of you believes. Part of you doubts. Part of you feels calm. Part of you feels anxious. This is not confusion. This is transition. This is the moment where two identities are competing, the old identity and the emerging one. And whichever one you reinforce more consistently will eventually become dominant. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to feel amazing all the time. You simply need to return to the new state. Again, and again, and again. Even when it feels unfamiliar. Even when it feels unnatural. Even when your body resists. Because over time, what is unfamiliar becomes familiar. What is difficult becomes easy. What is intentional becomes automatic. And what is practiced becomes identity. So instead of asking, how do I become someone new? Ask a different question. What version of myself am I reinforcing today? Because that is the real process of change. Not becoming, but remembering. Not building, but selecting. Not forcing, but stabilizing. And once you understand this, everything shifts. You stop chasing transformation, and you start practicing it. You stop trying to change your life, and you start changing your state. And slowly, your life begins to reflect it. Not instantly, not magically, but inevitably. Because identity is not something you are trying to reach. It is something you are already repeating. And the moment you change what you repeat, you change who you are. And the moment you change who you are, your reality has no choice but to follow.